Hello there. I'm Ramen Powder, and you probably know me as the person who runs the Quadrilla Marble League, or an active Yellow's Marble Runs fan and Marble community member. Today I'm here with a different kind of video about smaller custom marble competitions, or custom comps as they're now often called in the community. Last year in 2022, the custom comp landscape grew hugely, with so many new competitions expanding and becoming popular, forming a greater marble sports community. Most of these competitions are inspired by JMR's Marble League and follow a similar format, as most of the competition owners are avid fans of JMR, like myself. Now in 2023, with the release of the inaugural Marble Invite season, we've entered a new age of marble sports. As someone who's now made 3 seasons of both the individual and team Quadrilla Marble League, I've dedicated tons of time to making marble videos and growing my competition. And I want to give some advice to people looking to start or grow their own competition. Please keep in mind that this video is mainly targeted at marble competitions that use real life marbles and have videos that are filmed, edited, and published on YouTube. It'll also assume that competitions are at least somewhat inspired by JMR's Marble League, with teams of marbles competing in a variety of events. Before we dive in, I want to make it very clear that my points in this video are just my personal recommendations for what to do and what not to do. By no means do you have to follow them, and you can certainly make a competition without adhering to all or even a few of the points I make. With that being said, here are my 5 do's and 5 don'ts for starting or growing your custom comp. With many new custom marble competitions coming up, giving your competition some kind of theme is a great way of making it stand out amongst all of the other interesting Marble League style comps out there. The theming could be based on types of events. For example, my Quadrilla Marble League uses primarily quadrilla events as the name suggests, and Tour de Endurance by Angus has a good number of funnel events. The theming doesn't have to be types of events either, it could be the types of teams or the kind of marbles used. For example, the McDolphin Team Cup by Dolphin has a lot of ocean-related or sea creature teams, and Joker's Marble League uses duos of smaller beads instead of the standard 16 marbles. And I think these distinctions really give competitions their own identity and separate them from the others, and I think that's really cool. I will say that since this is number 5 on the list, this is the least necessary of the 5 do's. There are many competitions that aren't really themed and they're still fantastic. As we lead up to number 1, the points become more important and I'd recommend them more. Alright, let's move on to number 4. I think most people agree that in JMR, the immersion of a real life sporting event is massively helped by Greg Woods and his incredible commentary. I think the same has to apply to custom comps too. Ensuring you have good commentary to enhance the excitement and immersion in your competition goes a long way, and I'd say that there are 2 main ways to do this. The first way is to simply do your own commentary, trying it out for the first few videos and then improving as time goes on. This is what I did, and while you may feel that your commentary isn't good at first, trust me when I say that you naturally get better and better the more events you do. You could also try practicing commentary on other Marvel videos you've seen before, because you're going to know what happens in your own events anyway. I like doing my own commentary because I can ensure that certain things that I want to be mentioned can be mentioned. The other way to ensure strong commentary is to get a dedicated commentator for your series, someone who you know has the skills to bring life to the Marvel videos that you make. The JBL Cup does this very well, as while Bats runs the events, Jet is their commentator for the main tournaments. No matter which path you select, just keep in mind that commentary is a massive part of marble sports and can create a huge difference towards how many people want to return to watch more of your videos. Often, people get the tendency to keep various details of their competition like it is. However, I highly recommend to not be afraid to change things up if you deem it necessary. This encapsulates various things like team and marble name changes, format changes, numbers of events, event formats, auto qualification relegation systems, and anything else really. Even if some part of your competition has always been done in a particular way, If you feel like your comp would benefit from a change, do make that change if you can. Also, be open to feedback and hear people out, but also remember that ultimately it is your competition and you're free to do things your own way. This point actually pretty much goes for most projects, not just marble competitions, but it's especially important for custom comps in my opinion. No competition starts out perfect, and that's okay. You're probably not going to agree with every decision that you made 3 years ago. Even better is that if it hasn't been too long, the faster you make a beneficial change, the quicker you and your competition will reap the rewards. This might be a slightly controversial point, especially being as high as number 2, but I absolutely believe letting real people manage teams in your competition is extremely helpful. For anyone that doesn't know, managing or coaching a team as a real life human usually involves selecting which member participates in individual events and what roster your team should have, with a chance to make captaincy or reserve changes if needed. This is typically done on Discord servers for each competition, which is also a general great way to give people an outlet to discuss and react to your events. Alright, I'm going to talk about now why I think having team managers is so beneficial, specifically for competitions that are starting up. The main thing is that it boosts the interactivity of your competition, allowing fans to actually have a real influence on their favorite teams. It allows fans to become even more attached to their favorite teams in their quest to lead them to good results. Competitions like the Midasian Marble Games and the Emperor's Marble Sports Games have done this, and personally, I've become way more attached to my favorite teams from these comps because I'm thinking about the members and how to maximize the team's results. Sure, having to wait for all of your managers to submit picks can take a while sometimes, but introducing a 3 to 4 day limit or even shorter is a great way of not losing that much time at all. I think particularly if you're trying to make your competition more popular and teams more well known, the benefits of allowing team managers completely outweigh the limitations. This might seem obvious, but in my opinion, creating original events is the most important thing if you want to grow your competition. Almost all custom comps are inspired by the Marble League and take elements from it, and that's okay. The Marble League is the best marble competition that JMR runs, in my opinion, and thus is pretty much the best competition out there, as far as I'm concerned. So it only makes sense that fans of JMR would use similar events in their competitions. However, I think trying to actively create unique events that still function well and are exciting as events seen in the Marble League truly separates the good from the great when it comes to competitions. By no means does every event have to be original, of course, but having a good number of events that you create yourself, or even just tweak from the ML or other custom comps, is crucial to me. Some examples of phenomenal original events are rock climbing in Pessi's Marble Championship or block dueling in the Born Network's Marble Championship by Spenny. They're simple concepts, but really elevate these competitions because of their originality and uniqueness. And I think, again, it's cool to have events like balancing, relay, or elimination race still there, but just try to create a few new events every season to mix it up and do something different. Anyway, those are 5 things that I recommend competition owners to do when starting or trying to grow their competition. Now let's move on to the 5 don'ts. This is another of my points that might seem controversial or simply may not seem so important, and that's why it's number 5. You can still name your competition after yourself and make a great competition regardless. However, in my opinion, with new competitions being made more frequently nowadays, to me it's a little bland if competitions are named after its creator and that's it. For example, if I want to start my competition, I would think people would be much more intrigued by Quadrilla Marble League because the name suggests something to do with the theme, rather than something like Ramen's Marble League, because that just sounds like a generic marble competition run by someone called Ramen. I think this point is particularly important if you haven't already started your competition or if you want to revamp your inactive comp with a potential name change. Now, don't get me wrong, there are numerous competitions out there that are named after the creator, which are really good. However, those competitions are great for other reasons and are usually ones that are older before the large wave of new competitions being created now. And again, you don't have to do this to make a good competition, especially since it's just number 5, but it's something I'd recommend to garner interest from more people. As I said earlier in this video, I believe that the actual events are the most important part of a competition. Making sure the events are unique, fair, and provide for exciting action is what truly makes a competition great. However, I feel like sometimes competition owners worry too much about things for the background: fan stands, set design, overall aesthetic, etc. Don't get me wrong, these things aren't bad stuff to have and can make your competition better, but really they're supplementary to the actual events and marble action. I don't really care if you have 563 marbles in the stands. I'm watching to see the actual marble athletes compete. I think after you've hit the ground running with your competition, it might be a good idea to explore how the overall aesthetic can be improved, and that's why this is only number 4. But honestly, as long as the lighting is satisfactory and the set looks somewhat clean, that's good enough for me. However, particularly if you're starting out, focus on making fun events that are a treat to watch. If you can do that, you could have 0 fan marbles and I'd still enjoy it. I've mentioned it before, but I'd like to reiterate that most competition owners are JMR fans and make their competition because they're inspired by JMR and the Marble League. Nothing wrong with this, of course, it's simply exercising your passion for marbles, but I strongly recommend steering clear of creating teams too similar to in JMR. This is particularly for marbles that have the same type as JMR teams, for example, polar bears. It's probably rather easy to go the obvious route and make them space themed, but that just makes them too similar to Team Galactic. It'd be much more unique and fresh if you came up with a different theme for those marbles, and it's even better if it's a theme not really seen before in any existing custom comp. There are only so many marble types out there, so there's nothing wrong with having teams the same type as JMR or other competitions, so long as you still do something different with the marbles. I'd say that especially if your comp is underway already, having a couple of similar themes is okay, but try to limit it to not too many more. I'd also want to mention that similar themes are probably much better if their different marbles have unique individual names. Individual names are also an important factor. Even if the overall theme has a similar theme to JMR or is common in other comps, if the individual names are fresh, it would make the team feel far more original. Tying back to point number 3 of the do's list, don't be afraid to rename teams if you'd feel it'd make them more unique. No one can go from 0 to 100 in an instant, and that accurately applies to marble competitions in my opinion. I understand the appeal to start multiple competitions and plan to have several different things going on before properly starting, but this can easily end up overwhelming both you and the fans who may struggle to keep track of everything in the works if nothing is truly started yet. I would recommend competition owners to do no more than 2 main recurring series and focus on getting at least one full season of one of them out before moving on to the other one. Having a clear main series that's kind of like the crown jewel of your channel also helps people know what the big event is. This should also be reflected in the amount of effort you put into each of your series. You should be putting in the most effort into your main series, and ideally it should have the most videos too. For me, the main series is clearly the Team Quadrilla Marble League, as it has multiple qualifier videos, a 16 event A division, and 8 event B division. However, if you're going to have a secondary series, make sure to either keep it going or re-evaluate whether multiple series is a good idea, depending on what you think your capabilities are. If I didn't think I could still do qualifiers and 12 events for the individual Quadrilla Marble League, I wouldn't still be doing it. In summary though, do only what you want to do and what you think you can do, and start off slow and build up to more later. The most important thing to avoid doing when starting, or even just continuing your marble competition, is to prioritize quantity at the expense of quality. Yes, quality over quantity sounds obvious and cliche, but I particularly refer to prioritizing quantity to the extent that the quality isn't as good as it could be. Releasing events too quickly is exciting for fans in the short term because they get to see marbles a lot in a short time frame, but it's very easy to run into mistakes when you're rushing. I also feel that if a season is released too quickly with extremely short gaps between events, the overall season becomes less memorable even if there were exciting moments. I'm guilty of doing this myself with individual QML Season 3. I wanted to get events out as fast as possible, and it resulted in a few mistakes and the season becoming less memorable as a whole. If you think spending 2 or 3 days instead of one for the remainder of a video would make it better, please take that extra time to reach the level of quality that you want and can achieve. Trust me, this point seems very obvious, but it's easy to fall into the trap if you're not careful. And so, those are my 5 do's and don'ts for starting or growing a custom Marble League style competition. I'd like to give credit to Dolphin, Midasian and Marigold on my Discord server for helping me with ideas for this video, as well as all of the great competition owners who let me use footage from their comps. Once again, I'd like to reiterate that these are not things that you have to listen to or follow very closely. You can still make a good competition regardless. They are simply my personal recommendations for what to do and what not to do. I love marble competitions, both running my own and watching others, so I want to share my passion and see people find success when making their own competitions happen. That's why I made this video. Its intention is to guide people who are looking to start or grow their own comp, and would be open to advice. By no means are my points 100% the right points. Feel free to disagree with them, but remember to keep the discussion respectful. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon for the Individual Quadrilla Marble League Season 4 qualifiers.